Last week, I went home to Swedish death clean my mom's house in Arkansas and my childhood room.
Okay, ready? Yeah. Whoa! Baskets.
Within an hour, I was sitting between multiple piles of stuff, thinking, why did I hold on to this? Why did I buy any of this? And what on earth am I going to do with all of it? I genuinely thought this process was going to take 1 or 2 days for my room, and then I could focus more on helping my mom. That is not what happened. So after going through 30 years of my mom's stuff and my stuff, I want to share with you what actually happens when you go through all your stuff, the realization that completely changed the way I think about holding on to things, and of course, your homework or the checklist that might help you, like it did me, to make sure that I never wind up here again in the future. So hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Going Zero Waste YouTube channel. I'm Katherine Kellogg. I do videos to help you waste less and live better. So if that sounds like something you want, please hit that big red subscribe button. Ding the little bell, and you'll be notified when new videos are coming out. Swedish death cleaning. If you're unfamiliar, this is the practice of where you handle all of your belongings now before you die so people don't have to handle them after you die. My mom is still in very good health, but she is downsizing, and we're going to go through all of her belongings.
Baskets.
And also all of my belongings so she can downsize and we can get a jump on cleaning things out. What I really like about this style of cleaning is that it helps you look at the problem through new eyes. It gives you a new lens to help you filter your decisions through, which honestly is incredibly helpful. And if you've ever looked at all of your stuff wondering how on earth you accumulated so much, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. One of the reasons I think this took so long is that pretty much every single thing I was handling in my room was very sentimental. And it's so much harder to let go of sentimental items than it is just kind of random junk you've never really used and you've never really liked.
Oh my god. This is the play I wrote.
And I thought this would be fairly easy because I haven't looked at most of this stuff in years, when in fact, that actually made it so much harder. The second reason is that decluttering the right way does just take more time. Trying to find organizations and places that need the things you're giving away, as opposed to just dumping it all at the thrift store, is going to make it a little bit longer of a process. And the third reason was the peanut gallery, whom I love dearly. However, being told I can't get rid of this because so-and-so gave it to you when you were born, or you can't donate that.
Which one?
That cowboy hat was when you were cotillion.
Cotillion. I know. Yeah. I got them backwards.
This to you, and this is why it's really important, also makes making those decisions a bit more difficult. I'm coining this the grape hat theory. Now you can see here, this is a hat with grapes on it.
What on earth was I thinking?
I see something like this and I'm immediately transported back in time. I know where I was when I bought it. I was in a Savers. It was a sunny day. I was with my friend Sarah. I was wearing a red 3/4 length shirt we got on clearance from an Ann Taylor with a pair of blue jeans. And that was a great day. We got smoothies, we went thrifting, and I found this hat with grapes on it.
It's grapes.
Have I ever worn this hat? No. Why did I buy it? I liked it. And that is a bad reason to buy something. If you don't have a plan for something, if you're never going to wear something, you probably shouldn't buy it unless it coordinates with something or goes with something or you have any reason. But liking it, just not a good enough one. See, I have this gremlin that lives inside of me. This little gremlin likes to come out and I like it. I need it. I want it, which is fine until you wind up with 2 overflowing closets and 216 dresses. Repeat after me. Liking something is not a good enough reason to own something. You get it? And that was a lesson that took me a very, very long time to understand. And I think I had an extra layer to this problem because of being in theater and because I enjoy costumes and I volunteer on costume crew and I do costumes for shows. I see things, I like them, I buy them because I will probably be able to use them in some way. And the problem is that sometimes I'm right, but most of the time I'm really wrong. but I'm right just enough to kind of justify that feeling. And it has taken me years to be able to combat that. And here I was standing face to face with a lot of those decisions that past Catherine made, and they weren't very fun to deal with. And once we got past that, unfortunately, it did get harder because it was my photos, my photography, a half-finished written novel, screenplays, scripts, poetry, tons of journals, so much paper and writing and memories. And how do you throw that away? It feels like you're almost throwing part of yourself away. And by throwing away, it's paper. I do mean recycling.
Recycling.
But I can't donate that. Nobody wants those things. And in fact, when you look at it through the lens of Swedish death cleaning, does anyone want my 3rd grade journal? Looking through all of your childhood things is quite embarrassing. Your stories, your comics, the plays you wrote. So do you keep them if you're too embarrassed to even look at them? I'm not even sure I want to read my 3rd grade journal because it's so cringe. So donating it felt almost like a moral failing. Not because I was so sentimentally attached to those pages, but the fact that I forgot almost every single thing in them. And I realized I was holding on to stuff not because I wanted to remember, but because I was so afraid of forgetting. On the surface, those might sound like the same thing, but they're really not because one is so deeply rooted in fear. I was basically looking at my entire life's work and the things that brought me to where I am today. And I think there was this very, very deep-rooted fear that if I let those things go, it meant that I was letting that part of myself go. Ergo, I was ruining or destroying my foundation. And it took a lot of work to be able to separate the fact that all of those things are still living inside of me. Even if I don't keep the t-shirt from the t-shirt drawing contest I won when I was 6, it doesn't change the fact that my art skills grew with me and that I illustrated my cookbook that came out last year, right? Those things are all still a part of me, and it has to be okay to let those things go. There were 2 major moments that really shifted this experience for me and gave me a lot of clarity on how to declutter these really meaningful items. But first, we have a little note from today's sponsor. I'm so excited to announce that today's video is sponsored by Green Chef. Eating a plant-based diet is one of the most sustainable swaps we can make, and if you're looking to get started, this makes it so incredibly easy. I've had the same meals on rotation for years, so this was a really fun way to switch it up. I tried the barbecue flatbread pizzas, a tomato orzo soup, and a braised leek dish, as well as a coconut curry. They were all so good.
Oh, was it good?
That was really good.
Yeah.
It's not something I would normally choose to make, but I think after eating it, I would choose to make this.
It's just a really fun way to try new recipes. Everything comes pre-portioned, so there's no food waste. And while it does come with packaging, I'm genuinely really impressed with how much they've managed to reduce it. Green Chef focuses on whole organic ingredients with options like Mediterranean, plant-based, veggie, and more that are all designed to support long-term health. So if you want a low-effort way to eat more plant-forward or just get out of a cooking rut, you should head to greenchef.com or click the link below and use the code 50GZW to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first Green Chef box and 20% off for 2 months. The first thing is that I stopped asking, does this matter to me? Because the answer was yes, it all mattered to me. But does this matter to me right now? Does this matter enough to bring it home to Maine? Does this matter enough to have a place in my house that I want to continually look at and have a part of my day-to-day routine, or any routine for that matter? Now, I'm not going to lie to you, quite a bit more came in simply because there was a lot of encouragement happening to take things with me. So I might have to do a second round here in Maine, but that's another really big piece to this, which is all of these decisions will have to be made at some point in time. The question is, do you make them today? Do you make them in 2 weeks? Do you make them in 20 years? And the idea behind Swedish death cleaning is that it's done sooner so we don't have to make hard things any harder, because I cannot imagine cleaning out my room or the house in the wake of one of my parents having passed. That would make all of those decisions so much harder. So this is really a gift that I am giving to my future self. And the second thing was allowing myself 10 items. I had one plastic tub, and in it, I could put 10 items to keep. 10 items. It could be anything I wanted for no rhyme or reason. So I kept one of my childhood teddy bears. I kept the poodle skirt that my mom made me for my birthday when I was 10 that I obviously don't fit into. I kept my Dorothy costume. I kept a few sentimental things, even though they have no place or business in my current life. And being able to keep those 10 items, it was a small enough number that I had to be very judicious, but it was a big enough number that I felt like it was enough to, matter, be impactful. One of the things I really struggled in this clean out was, what if I have a daughter? I don't even have a child. I don't even know if I'm having children. But if I do, and she wanted something like my prom dress, well, I would have wished that I had held on to it. So I did hold on to a few costume items that my mom or my grandma made me that were special to me, in case I do have the ability to share those with someone else. Because I know that I wish I had my mom's prom dress. I would have loved to have worn it. But also, I'm really interested in vintage clothing and vintage fashion. And I wish I could have worn my mom's wedding dress. Like, there are so many things that I wanted of hers and didn't have. And so I'm a little afraid to give everything away in case there are a few things I wanted to hold on to. So by narrowing it down to 10, I was able to buy myself a little bit more time with this decision in a way that made me feel more comfortable, but without completely overwhelming myself with way too much stuff. I also let myself have one folder for writing so I could keep old writing, and I kept a wide range of writing from when I was younger all the way through, so I could personally see the evolution of my writing in a way that was much more condensed. I gave myself similarly one folder for artwork, and then I kept all of my scrapbooks. So I used to love scrapbooking, and I have way too many scrapbooks, but they're really enjoyable to look through. And it felt the best way to display all of this information, and it was already done for me. Because they were such labors of love, I know that what made it in there was something that was truly impactful to my life at the time. So it was keeping, the best highlight reel I could. Now, one really interesting thing was going through my mom's collection of Longaberger baskets. My mother was a collector, or at least everything I would use to describe in terms of collecting versus over-consuming, right? She was a part of the Longaberger basket community. I think she sold baskets. I'm not sure if that was a pyramid scheme or not. It probably was, but she loved the baskets. She had friendships based around the baskets. She went and visited the giant basket in Ohio, went on a trip to go to the headquarters to go see it. I mean, this woman was a true collector in every sense of the word, in both having and creating community and thoughtful purchases. And there are still a lot of Longaberger baskets in our house that we use, but there's also a lot of Longaberger baskets up in that closet that are not being used that I definitely had to go through. Now, I picked a few that I found to be really useful that I'm excited to put into my house because they are really good, high-quality baskets. But there is no longer a community around these baskets because the basket maker isn't in business anymore. And nobody really wants these baskets in terms of collectibles anymore, right? So it was another really interesting thing that I've talked about on the platform. At the end of the day, a collection is still stuff that does have to be dealt with, even something as practical as baskets. So I think that's just a really good reminder when it comes to consuming things, even if we are consuming them in terms of creating and curating and collecting, being really mindful of how much we have and how much we want to center our life and identity around it. Because this totally flipped the way that I consume. And I'm hoping it'll help flip the way you consume too. Because when you start looking at buying things now as future decisions that you're going to have to make, you get a lot more clarity on how and why you're shopping. How do you want to store this? How do you want to deal with this later? Is this something that you want to pass down? Is this something that you want to keep and plan on trying to make work in every space that you live in? And that's one of the things I'm really grateful to the zero waste movement for, is it really emphasizes the whole life cycle of your product. Is it going to be recycled? What happens when you throw it away? Where does it go? Everything you buy, you start thinking about who made it, where it came from, how you have it, and what happens when you're done with it. And when you think through that for every purchase, whether that's at a thrift store or not, it is really going to help you cut back to what you actually need and what you actually love and will actually use. In fact, it might be one of the best ways to frame these purchasing decisions. So here is your final homework and checklist for decluttering. Number 1, first and foremost, the thing that made it the easiest to let things go was to think about someone else enjoying them. I kind of wanted to keep my American Girl doll, even though I would not use her and she would definitely be in the box for a someday maybe child. But those feelings were far superseded knowing that it was going to a little girl that my mom knows who really wants an American Girl doll. That feels pretty good. Another little girl is very, very, very excited about my Pokemon card collection. So it feels great knowing that these things are going to good homes and people who really want them. The second thing is, are you holding on to something because you want to remember or because you're simply afraid of forgetting? And then, does this item add value to my life right now? Is this something that is truly helping me and something I can see being a part of my life moving forward? Now, I'm not saying this is going to make the decisions easier, but I am saying it's going to help give you more clarity on the decisions. So hopefully you know the better path to take. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way to the end, please give it some hype points. It really helps my videos with the YouTube algorithm. Huge shout out and thanks to Green Chef for sponsoring this video. That code again is 50GZW at greenchef.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Green Chef box and 20% off for 2 months. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I will see you next week with a new one.